Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's Figure Friday. We got a little different setup here today. We are looking at Bumble Bee. This is the movie series from Hasbro. Otherwise, it is from Takara Tomy. So, if we're doing Bumblebee, we've had how many iterations of Bumblebee? I figured the best thing we can do, if we're going to have them here, let's also have some of the older versions that we've had. And of course, I've always been able to save. Now, this is a keychain one, but honestly, this is the original Bumblebee that they had come out with, and he was just this simple to transform. If I can keep him on camera here, legs just pulled out. There's his arms, and there's his head. I mean, he was that simple, that basic of a figure, and here we are today. Now, I'm not going to get into transforming all of them, but as a figure, he looks pretty decent. He is somewhat of a Beetle, although, to be honest, I think today's take on the Beetle has a little something to be desired, but not too bad. It's just one of those things of I don't think very many people know what a Volkswagen Beetle is anymore. We do have some really high quality versions that companies have done, but there is a little lacking as far as trying to get this kind of perfectly right. But all in all, for the price that we have, which is still a little expensive, it's not too bad. Honestly, it's just not too bad. So he's got the classic look. Looking at, he's got his blaster here, which honestly, I don't know where we're fitting that in. I've transformed him once, so hopefully I can do this a little bit faster, and it makes a little bit more sense here as we go through this. He is nicely articulated, although as a new figure, the joints are going to be a little stiff. He has plenty of range of motion. We've, of course, got our ankles so we can kind of adjust things. So if he's sitting out here, his legs can be spread apart, and his ankle will keep everything flat, unlike the old ones where they used to be straight out, and they would look a little goofy with their legs or their feet being on an angle. So they've corrected that throughout the years. That's not a problem anymore. I really like how they've kind of fixed a lot of that. His back looks a little different from what he always really was, but they're again trying to hide all the pieces in here. We've hid the wheels, where, I mean, when you look at the old ones, I mean, his wheels are sitting right here on his hand. He can't hold a gun, no nothing. It's a huge upgrade. And it's a wonderful addition. It really is. So we don't hit a lot of the Transformers because, unfortunately, as they're taking a lot of the Transformers and they're getting to some of the other non-G1 Transformers into some of the other lines, which, there's a lot of collectors that like them, and I'm not going to say that they're not nice looking at times, but they don't harken back to my own childhood, so I don't really pick them up too much. So let's get into transforming him and getting him into his alternate mode. So, kind of followed the instructions a little bit, which kind of a rarity for me at times. Flip the head over, and it fits inside our kind of passenger compartment here. As we get all this flipped around, it works out pretty good. It's still a fairly straightforward transformation. It doesn't take a lot of time once you figure this out. Just trying to do this, it's not bad. This kind of flips down a little bit. Oh, come on. What did I do wrong? Because this needs to go down some, which means I don't have the head over as far as I need it. All right. So the arms do kind of go back here. If you're smart about it, you might be able to get the gun in there. I'm going to leave the gun out, thinking that it might just be a little bit easier in that regard. There's tabs in here that you can kind of line up, so that works out really nice. Kind of lets you know where you're supposed to be here. So that's all kind of clicked together. For our front, we have tabs here. We pull these off. Hopefully I'm keeping this all in frame. I've got the camera right in front of me, but I'm used to the other camera setup that I have, and I can't see what I'm all doing. So we have our feet here. This wraps around. This piece just slips around like this, which I kind of failed on the first time I was doing this. So it didn't work out quite as well as it was supposed to. We do have the feet coming together. The hips come down, locks into place. Now I kind of used my thumb here and got the knees to move a little bit, so I cheated that regard. Keeping this together, it all flips around. And all in all, not too bad. Now if I get this done right, which hopefully I am, here he is. Move him back a little bit, and he's freewheeling. So you do see him freewheeling a little bit. So obviously I did it correctly. Not too bad. It is a little... You can tell that they're trying to go with the Volkswagen, but it is just a little bit off here. I mean, we got the front looking fairly close, but it's just a little off, a little boxy, but not, not horrible. But, instead of having a nice rounded edges, it's got a little boxy, clunky look to it. I think this very easily could get switched over to being cliff jumper. All they'd have to do is just make them red. Instead of doing the headlights like this, just kind of fasten this all in together a little bit more and get that spoiler on the back, and then we have cliff jumper, which I don't know why in the last, I don't know how many iterations of cliff jumper, they kind of kill off fairly quickly. I thought he was an interesting character, a smaller guy. He's got a big heart, and he doesn't have any fear, which I think ultimately ends up in his demise. Because I mean, he was one of the first guys to take a pot shot at Megatron in the original cartoon. Of course, he missed, but he's willing to do the job. He's just not quite as skilled and as tough as some of the other ones. But it's one of those little guys that just has that heart to go do the job. So, but Bumblebee really became kind of that along the way as well. Bumblebee was actually the replacement. Originally, they were going to use Hound, from my understanding, to kind of be that go-to Autobot between the humans and the Autobots. And then they kind of settled on Bumblebee being a little bit smaller. And they kept his size not too much bigger than a standard human. So it all really worked out really well in that regard, because he was able to go into people's houses and stuff like that. And it worked out really nicely. So, the reasons why they change it and everything else, probably for the size issue, trying to figure out exactly how they're going to get Hound in and out of some of these other locations that they were figuring on coming up with. And it does make some sense in those regards. And today now we have Bumblebee, which was a newer Autobot into the whole organization, into a long-standing Autobot that had been almost there since day one. It's how things evolve, whether we kind of want to admit to it or not. It does happen. Sometimes we kind of shake our heads and say, well, that's not quite right. And in today's day and age, I guess I like to say that, we as the long-term fans, or even the newer fans, you have to pick and choose as to which battle you want to fight, and which one you want to just say, you know what, it's fine. It's been acknowledged that there are multiverses of Transformers, so your universe could be 64382 and everyone else is whatever. I don't know. I'm just making numbers up, and we just go from there. But it is a nice figure all in all. Figures aren't getting any cheaper, unfortunately. So if it is a figure you're looking at, I think it's okay. It's got a little bit of misgivings here. I mean, it's not as rounded as I would kind of like at spots, but it's not that bad of a figure. It has the heart, and it has a good resemblance of what we're really looking for. So with that, it's not bad. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for visiting. It's always wonderful having you here. Hope everyone's doing well. We will see you in the next video.